You ever wish you could get the legal protection of a big corporation, but without needing a whole team of co-founders? Well, if you're a solo entrepreneur, this explainer is for you. Today, we're diving deep into the founder's playbook for the one-person corporation, or OPC. This could be a total game changer for your business.
Okay, so let's get right to it. Here's the situation so many solo founders face, right? You've built something amazing, all on your own, and you need that corporate shield to protect your personal assets from business liabilities. But you don't have partners, and maybe you don't even want them. So what do you do?
Well, that's where the one-person corporation comes in. The OPC is this really cool legal structure designed specifically for a team of one. It means you get to be the single stockholder, the sole director, and the president all rolled into one, while still getting that crucial limited liability that separates your business from your personal life.
We've laid this out just like a playbook. We're going to walk through 6 key chapters. First, we'll cover the basics of what an OPC is. Then, we'll get into setup and what it's like to run the one-person show. After that, we'll tackle the super important nominee role, cover the risks and rules, and finally, look at how your OPC can evolve right alongside your business.
All right, first things first, let's really nail down the fundamentals. What exactly is an OPC? And more importantly, who can actually set one up and who gets left out? Let's dig in. So, who can form one? Well, the list is actually broader than you might think. It's not just for individuals or natural persons. A trust or even an estate can also form an OPC. The easy way to remember it is just NTE, natural person, trust, and estate. Now, on the flip side, the law is very specific about who can't do this. We're talking about heavily regulated industries like banks and insurance companies. Publicly listed companies are out too. And generally, professionals can't use an OPC for their practice unless there's a specific law that says they can.
Okay, so you're in. You qualify. Fantastic. Now for the fun part, the blueprint for actually setting up your OPC. What do you need to do to bring this thing to life?
And this right here, this is one of the biggest selling points for startups. Unlike a lot of traditional corporations, there is absolutely no minimum capital required to set up an OPC. Zero. That's a huge financial barrier, just gone. It means you can get your business incorporated right away, even if you're bootstrapping. And the good news keeps on coming when we talk about paperwork. You absolutely have to file your articles of incorporation. That's non-negotiable. But in a move that makes life so much easier for a solo owner, you get to completely skip drafting and filing corporate bylaws. Okay, a super simple rule, but you absolutely cannot forget this one. Your official company name must include the letters OPC right at the end. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a legal requirement to let everyone know the specific structure of your company. All right, your company is officially registered. Congratulations! Now, let's talk about the reality of running the one-person show. You know, you're going to be wearing a lot of different hats as the single stockholder. But there are some very specific rules about who can do what. So, as the founder, you're automatically the president and the sole director. No choice there. Those hats are yours. You can also choose to be the treasurer, but there's a little catch we'll talk about in a second. The one role you absolutely cannot fill yourself is corporate secretary. You have to appoint a separate person for that job. So, remember that catch I mentioned about being your own treasurer? Here it is. If you appoint yourself, the law requires a special safeguard. You have to post what's called a bond, which is kind of like an insurance policy that protects the company's money. You've got to renew it every 2 years, and you also have to sign a formal promise to manage the funds responsibly. You know, every smart founder has a backup plan for when life happens. Well, for a one-person corporation, a contingency plan isn't just a good idea, it is a legal requirement. And it all comes down to the crucial role of the nominee. When you set up your company, you are legally required to designate a nominee and an alternate nominee. Just think of them as your trusted successors, legally empowered to step in and manage the business if, for whatever reason, you suddenly can't. It's your built-in business continuity plan. So how does this work in practice? Well, it really depends on the situation. If you're just temporarily unable to run things, your nominee steps in as director just until you're back on your feet. But in the tragic case of death or permanent incapacity, the nominee takes over to keep the business running until your legal heirs can be sorted out. It ensures the business doesn't just stop. And the best part? This whole plan is super flexible. You can change who your nominee is at any time you want. All you have to do is notify the SEC with the new person's name and their written consent. No need to go through the hassle of amending your core legal documents. It's simple. Okay, the simplicity of the OPC is amazing, but it absolutely comes with some serious responsibilities. This next section is maybe the most important part of our whole playbook. We're going to break down exactly how you stay compliant, protect yourself, and avoid the major risks. Operationally, things are just so much simpler. You can forget about the hassle of scheduling formal board meetings with yourself. It just doesn't make sense. Instead, any major decision or action you take is just documented as a written resolution. You just sign it, date it, and keep it in your records. Easy. When it comes to your financial reporting, the rules kind of scale with your business size. If your total assets or liabilities are under 600,000 pesos, you can just certify your own financial statements. But as soon as you hit that 600,000 peso mark, the rules change. You're then required to get your books audited by an independent CPA. Now listen up, because if you remember nothing else, please remember this. The burden of proof is 100% on you. You have to be able to clearly and definitively prove that the corporation's money and property are completely separate from your personal money and property. No mixing, no blurring the lines. And the reason that's so important is because the penalty for failing to keep things separate is severe. This is the single biggest risk of the OPC structure. If you can't prove that separation, the courts can pierce the corporate veil. That's a legal term that means your limited liability protection vanishes, and suddenly you are personally on the hook for all of the company's debts. All right, last chapter. We all know businesses aren't static things, right? They grow, they change, and sometimes they might even outgrow the one-person structure. So let's look at how your OPC can adapt as your business evolves. The good news is the whole structure is designed to be flexible. You can go both ways. If you're in a regular corporation and you happen to buy up all the stock, you can apply to convert it into a streamlined OPC. And going the other way, if your OPC is growing and you want to bring on partners by selling shares, you just file a quick notice to convert it into a regular stock corporation. So that leaves us with the ultimate question for every solo founder out there. The OPC offers this incredible simplicity and a really low barrier to entry, but it demands absolute discipline to maintain that separation between your business and personal finances. Now that you've got the playbook, you can make the call. Is the simplicity of an OPC worth the strict liability risks for your venture?